Hey guys, welcome back to A Little in Light. I'm Samantha. Today I'm going to do something a little different. I don't want to call this a devotional really. To me, devotionals are like teaching. Maybe this is more of like my testimony. I don't know. You tell me. How about that? I was really good at being the rebellious child. I wanted to do things my own way, and that ended up hurting me quite a bit. Now, my hurt was not God punishing me. Like, I don't believe that. I believe that in turning away from the good thing that He was trying to give me, I kind of tripped and fell. It's like a child who constantly pulls away from you, and they finally get out of your grasp and they fall over. You didn't push them, but because they got away from your leading hand, they fall. I can't speak for everyone, but that's how it was for me. I wanted to have control, and I was continually failing and falling. When I finally gave up and surrendered, it was terrifying. I had serious doubts starting out, trying to give control over. And I still do sometimes. And that's just me being honest. It's unfortunate, but I'm figuring out how to have stronger faith. I haven't shared this story publicly, but I think it's important for this conversation for you to have some pretext. I know Jess from Roots and Refuge has said that she's called to live in a glass house, and I really admire that. While I don't think that I am called to do that per se, I do believe that the things I have suffered through and survived happened so that I could go on and tell my story. Survivor of trauma and PTSD, going through homelessness, unplanned pregnancy. I'm young enough to interact with people younger than me, and I've lived enough and had enough life experience to connect with those who are older than me too. I've mentioned before about us having gone through some really hard times. About 2 years ago, I was about 20 weeks pregnant, and I was the only one working, and we were homeless. We weren't living on the streets, but we did not have a home of our own. I actually was living with my mother for some time. Jerry and I ended up living in separate states for a little while. We weren't separated, like, romantically, but quite physically. He moved up here to South Georgia to find work and set up a place for us to live. And then, let's see, we were apart for about a month. And then once he was good and settled, I moved up. The first 3 days without a home were the worst. I didn't sleep at all. I was pregnant and emotional because of the pregnancy. It was my birthday. It's a couple days before Christmas, and it was just all around not the most wonderful time of that year. How we ended up in that situation was completely our fault. Now, we have taken some major steps to make sure that never happens again, but living it at the time was pretty terrible. Having been through these hard times, there's something that I realize a lot of people don't talk about. When life gives you lemons, you're told to make lemonade. But life didn't give you water and sugar too. It gave you lemons. So before you take off in pursuit of the ingredients to make you happy, let's talk for a second. After going through the hard time, and I was already on my way to healing my mindset, I guess, I came across a comment. I remember commenting on a video. I don't remember whose video it was, but somebody else had commented too, and they said, "When life gives you lemons, make lemonade." And right then, God spoke to me. And He said, when life gives you lemons, yes, strive for lemonade, but in the meantime, love the lemons too. But what the heck does that mean? Love the lemons too. First, you need to recognize your lemons for what they are. Is it your job? Is it a relationship? Is it your living situation? It can be a ton of different things, and it's so different for every person. So think about your life, find your lemons, and now let's figure out how to love them. Well, how do I love my lemons? I'm glad you asked. So this part is gonna vary a lot from person to person, just like the particular lemons in your life are going to vary quite a lot. Sometimes all you need is to pay a little extra attention to those places in your life. You don't like your work? Try to dig in a little deeper. Find some purpose there. If you're having a rough time in some kind of relationship, talk to that person, spend more time with them, something. Now, that's not going to be a fix-all, because sometimes, just like with any fruit-bearing plant, you might need to prune to cut back the dead ends and stimulate new growth. Now, am I telling you to quit your job or cut off a friend? No. But it's important that you recognize what's going on, you analyze the situation, and then you realize whatever needs to be done for you specifically. When we were without a home, I was up to my neck in lemons, okay? Money, or lack thereof, my car wasn't working right, my husband was living in a different state, there was lemons everywhere, okay? I was the lemon queen. Here's the wonderful news about that sour fruit, though. They change. Sometimes you are the one who harvests them. Sometimes they just fall off, whether it's something you do or they just go on their own. We made it out of that dark time, and that was like in no part by our hand. The glory alone belongs to God for that one, because we got ourselves into that mess and he got us out. He opened the doors and gave us the wisdom to walk through them. That's all that happened. Like, I take zero credit for that. Jerry was offered a wonderful job. We ended up getting a really small 1-bedroom apartment for a while. He saved up, and then we ended up in the townhouse, which is where this channel began. Now, maybe your lemons are like mine were. And if that's the case, I just want you to know that you're not alone and that there's nothing to be ashamed about. It's, something that happens to people. It doesn't happen to everyone, but if it happens to you, it's okay. The best thing you can do is learn from it. Now, the most constant and the biggest sour fruit of my life has been and continues to be that I am a dreamer, which sounds like a good thing, and it can be, but you have to have the right mindset about it, or at least I do. Now, I've been working on this particular issue for a little while now, but I used to be a hopeless dreamer. Seeing other people succeed and thrive made me sad because I was mourning this life that I had yet to have. I saw people with goats and I was like, oh, I want goats. Like, it wasn't healthy by any means. After finding Jess from Roots and Refuge, though, that really started to change. She taught me to dream, and to dream with a joyful heart and with my eyes open and as a driven dreamer. Now, while that was a huge step in the right direction, I was still looking towards the future. I could see the water, and I could see the sugar, and I could see that metaphorical lemonade. It was out of reach, but it was in sight. It was way on the horizon, but it was there, and I was working towards it. And one day, I realized something. I've been working towards this homesteading lifestyle and making quite the headway. We have the house and the goats and the chickens and the beginnings of a garden. I am living what was once my lemonade dream. And I heard him say, sometimes your lemons are something as simple and as complex as your present. So I'm slowing myself down and learning to love the season that I am in. I'm grateful that I am not where I was. I am enjoying where I am, and without belittling my present, I'm looking forward to where we will be in the future. Now, yes, it is much easier to love your lemons when you're in a better place in life. However, looking back, even in that dark time, I could have loved it. Homeless? Yeah. but we were healthy and we had Medicaid, so we didn't have to worry about medical bills. My husband moved to a different state for work. Yeah, but we were still very in love and in a good place in our relationship, even though we happened to be a state apart. Even the worst of lemons can be loved. It's not fun, but it's possible. These are my lemons. It's not easy, and sometimes I completely fail, but I'm learning to love them. So, what sour fruits are you harboring? What lemons are you living with? Okay, well, that's really all I have for you. I hope that it was at least somewhat thought-provoking. This is something that's been on my heart for a while, and I thought it was time to try and make my first devotional, kind of, I guess. Thank you for hanging out with me today and letting me tell you at least part of my story. I hope that this reaches somebody. If no one else, this was good for me. But until next time, bye y'all. But I'm sitting here recording and I hear something and then that skink pops up. It terrified me. Oh. Thanks for this eureka moment. Hey y'all, I'm Samantha and you're watching Of Little and Light. Being a 90s kid, that just like makes me think about Disney. It's like, I'm Samantha and you're watching Of Little and Light. Like, well, that's going in the blooper reel.